Good afternoon. My name is Ted Bestor. I'm from the Reischauer Institute of Japanese Studies, and I'm presenting on a project that we have been working on since approximately March 12th, 2011. We call it the Japan Disaster Digital Archive, and I want to explain a little bit about this today and introduce you to some of its features. I have jump drives with information. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough for everybody, but I want to assure you that this is not copyright protected. You're free to duplicate, circulate, reproduce in any way you like. So let me just give you this and you can start passing it around. As I say, I apologize that I don't have enough for everybody in the room, but I will be happy to provide additional information if necessary. How do I now? So, okay. Okay. This is our Japanese logo, and the URL is simply jdarchive.org. Our English logo, and a sample of some of the images that you can find in our digital archive. These, of course, are prayer flags erected in I believe it's in Ishinomaki. So, we at Harvard, a group of perhaps 8 or 9 of us, started probably on March 12th, 2011, in a very informal way, exchanging all the emails we were getting from friends and students and colleagues in Japan and passing them around amongst ourselves because we were desperate for information. And we quickly realized that much of the information that would exist, perhaps only temporarily, about the disasters was in digital form, and that if we didn't devise some fashion, some manner of preserving that information, it would be gone within weeks. It would simply disappear, as so much digital information does. And so, without knowing very much about how to do anything on a digital archive, we began. And this is where we are as of yesterday. We have 1,481,200 items cataloged digitally in our database. You can see from the chart we have 834,000 tweets, we have 401,000 headlines, we have 170,000 images, we cover 52,000 websites, we have documents from the government, we have news articles, we have broadcasts, we have videos, we have collections that have been assembled by people, we have audio recordings, and we have testimonials, that is to say, statements that people have written about their own experiences during and after the disasters of March 11th. So a few things to emphasize about the JDA, as we call it. It is free, and it is accessible to anyone in the world regardless of their affiliation. It is currently searchable in both Japanese and English keywords, and we're trying to standardize our keywords so that searches will be easier in the future. We provide extensive coverage of all aspects of disasters and post-disaster recovery and assessments, and we are still very actively collecting information, particularly on Fukushima, but also on other aspects of the recovery of the Tohoku region. We have predominantly Japanese language sources, but we also have quite a number of English sources. We have some Chinese and Korean sources, as well as a few French, German, and other European languages. And we are very eager to expand our coverage in European languages and to expand our coverage of European sources, regardless of whatever language they may be in. We restrict the content to material that originated in digital form, what we refer to as born digital. We do not scan things, we do not reproduce things, we do not make PDFs. We simply find things on the web and catalog them, provide metadata, and so forth. We are dependent upon suggestions of content that is submitted by users. So we consider ourselves to be a crowdsourced archive. And for those of you who are interested, if you look at the information on the jump drives, you'll find information about how to nominate or suggest sources that we may not have already found. These are some analytics for the JDA site. I'm not sure how clearly you can see them. This covers 1 month from August 15th to September 14th, so 2 days ago. The relevant figures, I think, are that according to people who know more about this than I do, the average session duration of 6 minutes, 36 seconds suggests that when people find us, they stick around. They do a fair amount of looking. They're not just one-off clicks. We had, during this period of time, 1,409 sessions involving 1,001 individual users. The pie chart in the corner shows a breakdown between, in blue, new visitors, and in green, returning visitors. So we have a fairly high return rate, and if you probably can't see the very bottom of this, but during this period of time, approximately 36% of our users were from Japan and searching in Japanese, and 31% roughly were from the United States and searching in English. So that means there's another 40% of our users out there around the world, neither in the United States nor in Japan, and I certainly hope that some of those users are here in this room, or at least some future users will learn about this from people who are in this room. So we have a number of keywords that we think about as we're developing this project: connection, discovery, granularity, and participation. And let me try and explain each of these in turns. First, connection. And this chart may very well resemble one that you've just seen from Nagasaki University. This is our overarching framework of collaborations. We collaborate with approximately a dozen Japanese organizations that are in one way or another assembling digital material, ranging from the Kokkai Toshokan to the NHK archives, Tohoku Daigaku's Michinoku Denshinroku, excuse me, and a number of other organizations, Yahoo Japan, the Asahi Shimbun's Asia and Japan Watch, and so forth. What Reischauer Institute, what Harvard has contributed to this was the development of an API, an interface that enables material from many, many different sources to be linked to one another. We do not actually collect the digital images ourselves. They are collected by Internet Archive based in Mountain View, California. We simply provide the API that lets all of these other organizations feed their images into a single database. We also provide some cataloging and provide the metadata for Internet Archive to be able to keep this all running. So that's cooperation. We also have discovery. We are very much thinking of this as a scholarly endeavor, creating an archive that hopefully will endure for many, many years and be extremely useful for future researchers trying to understand the nature of the disasters and the responses to them. So there are a variety of ways in which one can discover things. Of course, one can search, and in this particular slide, the navigation bars are all in Japanese. You can switch between Japanese and English, so you can search for keywords in either of those. So if you search, for example, bōsai kyoiku. In the Japanese keyword search, you get 356 separate items. And the items are listed below. You can see the symbol for a tweet. You can see the icon for 311 Memories, which is a headline gathering service that simply provides you with the headlines and the citation for an article. You would have to find the article yourself using another search tool. But in any case, there are 356 items that appear in the Japanese search under Bōsai Kyoiku. And if you look under disaster education using the English keyword, you'll find 227. So that's approximately 560 or so hits on a single concept using only 2 keywords. Now, obviously, you could add other keywords and probably expand the search to a much larger set of items. If you see the circled red in the upper left-hand corner, that indicates that you are searching for geo-referenced materials. So to the extent possible, we try and include geo-referencing for items in the archive, either geo-referencing that is provided by the person who has submitted the information, such as this is a photograph taken in Minami Sanrikucho on March 12th, versus textual information such as a newspaper article that says this happened in Minami Sanrikucho. So in either case, if we can identify a specific place, we do, and then you can have that information mapped onto a map of Japan with all kinds of layers of information that you can add. You can add boundaries of mura, you can add in the location of fire stations, and so forth. So you can track particular kinds of information, particular topics, particular days, particular times, against particular places. Now, granularity is a term that I've introduced into the archive in the sense of, I think one of its great advantages for researchers is that much of the information is very close to the ground. It is not necessarily government reports or budget projections or urban planning documents. It is oftentimes very, very intimate kinds of material. So as you'll remember, I said we have over 800,000 tweets that are recorded in our archive. So you can search the tweets and find very, very detailed kinds of materials that certainly would have been lost if we had not archived it. So you can find, particularly on the 11th and 12th of March, you can find tweets saying, "My grandmother is in Minami Soma. Could somebody check on her?" Or, "I'm standing outside a gas station here and I can't get any gas. Does anybody know where I can find some?" So these are people who are conveying the real experience of being there. We also have over 170,000 photos, and I will show you some examples which, hello? I can probably talk loud enough without the mic, but 170,000 photos, which I think also illustrate the nature of granularity in a very visual sense. These are actually photographs that I've contributed to the archive. Thank you. These are photographs that I took in Minami Sanrikucho in the summer of 2012. Here is a trash heap showing all of the glass and ceramic ware from a small village that has been gathered outside of town. Here is a student of mine looking at some of this. And here, next to the trash pile, is perhaps the most poignant level of granularity, somebody's lost shoe. Now, we do not know whether this shoe was lost a week before I took the photograph or on March 11th, but there it sits on a beach in Tohoku. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the famous building in Minami Sanrikucho, the Public Disaster Preparedness Center, which was overwhelmed by the tsunami, in which a number of employees died, still broadcasting to the town to evacuate. And this building still remains as something of a memorial. This is a middle distance shot. Here is an informal altar that has been erected at the base of the building. And if you get closer, more granular, if you will, you can see some of the things that have been placed on the altar. Not only chains of origami, but if you look carefully to the left-hand middle side, you can see somebody's pair of eyeglasses, presumably found on the spot by somebody doing the cleanup. Also a teaspoon, some other personal items that sit there. So the granularity of the material that is available in our archive, I think, lends it a particular historical and ethnographic weight that other types of data may not provide. Participation is an important aspect of this. We want users of the archives to participate in the building of the archives. There is a page called Contribute, where you can, in essence, nominate a website or any other source of information. So if you know of a website, for example, of a Dutch relief organization that was active in providing assistance to Tohoku, I would urge you to nominate it. Similarly, a Norwegian government report on tsunami relief. Anything that is out there that we don't know about, we would like people to tell us about so that we can incorporate it in the ever-changing content of the archive. We also have a way for people to submit testimonials, that is to say, written accounts of their own experiences. We don't have a lot of testimonials, but the ones that we have gotten and that people have allowed us to make available are often quite moving. They talk about people's experiences on the day of the disasters, their reflections on the disasters over following weeks, months, even years. And so if you know of anybody who has a personal account to offer, a personal testimony, we would love to hear from them. Another way that we urge people to participate is in the building of what we call collections. We offer the tools for people to curate their own collection, and they can keep it private, only visible by themselves if they wish, or if they feel comfortable with making it public, they can publish it, quote unquote, on our website. And so we have acquired from various sources people who have looked through the archive for a particular reason. They may be looking for information about their own town. They may have a topical interest and so forth, but they have created a collection that is now visible to other users of the database. So here we have a collection that has been made about the 3/11 Japan disaster and asbestos. We have a collection that's been made about Minami Soma. We have a collection on the Radio of Hope scandal, a charitable scam. And here, this is just highlighting one of them assembled by my colleague, Andrew Gordon, on Tohoku history. So here he has entered the search keywords Tohoku Rekishi and come up with titles of items that he now wants to put into his own collection, which is highlighted on the right-hand side in the circle. So he identifies a particular item, and then it is transported through the magic of cyberspace into his collection. It does not alter the original record. It does not change the location of the original record, but it creates a link to the place where it can be found in his collection. So I'll just go through, here's another one on disaster prevention education, and I'll go through this quickly, simply to try and come to the end of my presentation in due time. We have what we call a waku, waku story builder, waku as in framework, or waku waku as in exciting. And this is an editing tool that it helps people take a collection and turn it into some kind of a narrative structure and then present it as a collection or a waku on our site. I also want to mention the NCC, the North American Coordinating Council on Japanese Library Resources, has created an excellent guide to the digital archives of Japan's 2011 disasters. It's one of the over 1,000 LibGuides that they have online, and this provides a very good overview of how the archive can be used, how it can be accessed, and so forth. So again, to remind you, here is our URL. Here again is our URL. And this, again, is an image from the archive to Maneki Neko, emblazoned with Kizuna. So thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. So maybe you have some question? No comment?
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. I was wondering who's doing all the work? This is a huge amount of work you're doing. And you're not really a Center of Japanese Studies.
It is a collaborative effort. So we rely on the work of our Japanese partners at Tohoku Daigaku, at the Kokai Toshokan, and other places to do the actual assembly of materials. So we are providing a cataloging overlay, if you will. We have perhaps at any given time 5 or 6 graduate students who are being paid to help archive. We have a full-time webmaster who supervises the ongoing development. And we have an almost full-time researcher who is basically in charge of determining which websites are worth trawling, and we try and, we've set up a priority scheme for different kinds of websites. Some of them we crawl every week, some of them we crawl every month, some of them we only crawl once if we don't think it's going to be yielding new information. But it is an incredible amount of work, and there are at least a dozen people who are responsible for everything you've seen here. This is not my project, it's a collective project.
Impressive. Yeah,
thank you.
I just wanted to add something for those people who might be thinking about nominating something. You don't have to search the site and look to see if they've already got it. That is one of the things that they do have somebody do. So anything you might think of, suggest. And if they've already got it, of course, they won't duplicate it. But don't spend your extra time trying to figure out if they do or not.
Actually, we don't have a person doing that. That's done by software. We can identify duplicates that way. But in any case, we're delighted for any suggestions. And as I said at the outset, suggestions of European sources would be very much welcome, because we do not have a lot of coverage at this point of European accounts or European reports on the effects of the disasters.
And it means you just invited European, but this is language is not some limitation.
No.
Okay, all kind of languages. Actually,
Zulu, Swahili. We'll find somebody at Harvard who can help us with the language.
Okay.
If the content is related to the issues.
Okay.
And since the Fukushima aspects of the disaster are certainly not finished, we're still collecting. We may be collecting for a very long time on
and
that.
for example, supporting groups in different countries, small countries, activities or concert or something. So
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, when I've been in Tohoku, I've met government officials from various countries there advising on technical issues having to do with seawalls or reclamation of agricultural land, and presumably each of those governments somewhere has published, perhaps online, a report. And so if any of you know of any of those government reports, please let us know. We would love to include them. And also, please go and go find a topic and look for yourself. See what kinds of things we have. We're very proud of the coverage we have, and we'd like everybody to know about it. So, yoroshiku onegai itashimasu.